Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom, I'm David Mensa, Israeli government spokesman. A quick update from me and then to your questions, which you should put in the chat, and I'll be happy to take them after this very short introduction. It's Wednesday, the 31st of July, day 299 of the October 7th war. Just as a side note to news editors, tomorrow it's day 300 of this war, but also the birthday of the now famous red-headed boy, our hostage, Ariel Bibas. Ariel Bibas is 5 years old tomorrow. Look, I'll be straight with you. The more international media raises his profile, the more chance we have of getting him out together with the other 115 hostages. So, firstly, to Hezbollah, to begin with, last night, in a targeted attack in Beirut, IDF eliminated the senior military commander of Hezbollah. He was the head of its strategic operations. He was responsible for the murder of the children in Majdal Shams yesterday. I went up to Majdal Shams yesterday with around 50 journalists. There you will see an AstroTurf football pitch, a soccer pitch, with a crater on the side of it, a metal fence blown open, peeled back like a tin of tuna, charred remains of bicycles and other toys. It was there that 12 children were killed. They heard the air raid warning siren. They were running towards the shelter, the bomb shelter, which was very, very close by. I saw this with my own eyes just yesterday, but there wasn't enough time to get in. They're right up against the Lebanese-Syrian border. One child managed to get into that bomb shelter, and unfortunately that Hezbollah rocket took the lives of 12 innocent children. This is not a sustainable reality for anyone here in Israel. So the terrorist that orchestrated this attack, he killed many Israeli civilians, including the 12 kids on Saturday at 6:18 p.m. Look, our message is crystal clear. Hezbollah has crossed a red line. Our long arm will reach to anyone. I'll say that again. Our long arm will reach to anyone who harms our people. The target of the attack was Fouad Shukr, also known as Sayed Muhsin. He was number 2 in the Hezbollah hierarchy of terror, responsible for many murderous attacks against Israelis, Americans, and others, including the attack against the Marine barracks in Beirut back in 1983, which killed 241 US Marines. For that reason, he was included in the American list of the most wanted terrorists with a $5 million bounty on his head. Thanks to Iranian infiltration, Lebanon is a failed state, but it still is ultimately responsible for the attack all the attacks that it's given us from its territory. The Hezbollah terrorist army, it's a unit of the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard, and has launched thousands of rockets, hundreds of UAVs, around 7,000 in total projectiles, and has caused the deaths of dozens of Israelis, including one yesterday. And among them, of course, these 12 children. Not Jewish children, Druze children, but Israelis nonetheless. You know, the purpose of establishing this country was as a homeland for the Jewish people. Although we've got links here for 3,000 years, just 76 years ago we established this state as a homeland, a safe place for Jewish people to be, to get away from the centuries and centuries anti-Semitism which Jewish people have faced around the world. Now, to a large extent, that dream has been proven to be, and this is a safe haven for Jewish people. But it's also a safe haven for the other nations that chose to stay here, and the Druze are an example of those nations. It's a society, a culture, a community which we hold very, very closely to our hearts. And the terrible attack on Saturday is devastating to all Israelis, no matter what their religion. And that was underscored by the mayor of Migdal Shams, who we spoke to yesterday. Look, Iran will bear the consequences for any escalation that it results from its own actions. Israel will continue to operate against Hezbollah aggression. We will use all means necessary to restore security on our northern border and to safely return our citizens to their homes. The state of Lebanon and Hezbollah, the Hezbollah terrorist organization, which is operating under the guidance of Iran, bear full responsibility for the escalation of the security situation in the north. And of course, it's in violation of the UN Security Council resolutions 1559 and 1701. We've all heard the Lebanese foreign minister saying that they think it would be a nice idea if UN resolution 1701 was adhered to. Yes, of course. Let's not forget, Iran is a failed state. Lebanon is a failed state because of Iran, and Lebanon is a country which allows another army, the Hezbollah terrorist army, to control the south of its country, which is against the 1701 UN Security Council resolution. The UN does, of course, have a UNIFIL force which is on our border with Lebanon, but it's absolutely useless. The purpose of that UNIFIL force was to keep Hezbollah behind the Litani River. It has not for one day fulfilled its role in pushing and ensuring Hezbollah are behind that river. But one way or another, through diplomacy or through other means, we will ensure that is the case. And finally, on COGAT, an update regarding their work coordinating aid into Gaza over the last 24 hours. 213 trucks with humanitarian goods went into Gaza yesterday, 150 via Kerem Shalom, 63 via the Erez crossing, and 6 tankers of fuel and 6 tankers of cooking gas for vital humanitarian infrastructure also entered Gaza. Also to report to you that 148 patients, together with their escorts, exited Gaza for treatment in the United Arab Emirates. And of course, our usual reminder that hundreds of trucks worth of humanitarian aid are waiting, languishing in the sun, waiting to be collected by the hopeless and hapless United Nations from the Gazan side of Kerem Shalom, from the Kerem Shalom crossing. So that's the end of our briefing today. I will now take your questions, which you should put in the chat together with your news outlet. First question here is from Dan Williams of Bloomberg. Did Israel carry out an attack in Damascus this afternoon? Thank you for that question, Dan. I'm not aware of that, but you should check the IDF Telegram feed for the latest. Any such activity should be either checked with the IDF directly, or it will go up on the IDF's Telegram feed. If so, against who or what? I think I've managed to deal with that. And the next question you've asked is, when is the next round of hostage negotiations? So on the hostage negotiations, let me share a couple of thoughts on that. Hamas continues its refusal, as it has all the way through, to reach an agreement. It continues to change clauses in the agreement and continues to entrench itself in its unreasonable demands. These talks are ongoing, and Israel is committed to the success of these talks. As a reminder, the framework was agreed upon by Israel. It's been supported by President Biden. Israel's aim is to enable the return of our hostages without obstructing the other goals of this war. Now, again and again, it's been the Hamas leadership which has been preventing an agreement. Israel has neither changed nor added any condition to the outline. On the contrary, as of now, it is Hamas. It is Hamas which has demanded 29 changes and has not responded to the original outline. We here in Israel stand on our principles according to the original outline, and they are, to remind you, maximizing the number of living hostages, Israeli control over the Philadelphia corridor, which is absolutely key in preventing the passage of the Hamas deadly arms which sustain its war against us, It's an absolutely key demand of ours to ensure that Hamas can no longer use the Philadelphia corridor as a way to get weapons to its terrorists, and preventing the passage of terrorists, weapons and ammunition to the northern Gaza Strip. In these negotiations, we're insisting on several basic demands: the option to return to fighting until all the goals of the war are met, preventing the smuggling of ammunition from Egypt, as I mentioned, into Gaza, and preventing the return of thousands of armed terrorists. Look, this war will not end until all of our goals are met, and I repeat them again: the return of all our hostages, dismantling Hamas's governmental and military capabilities, and removing the terrorist threat to Israel. Okay, next question here is from, if you could just scroll up a bit, I can't see the top of that question. Okay, no, just scroll up a bit. Yeah, up. There we go, okay. From Celia Vasdal from TV2 Norway. Number one, you've got three questions here. Israel has two big victories in the last 24 hours, and you mention Fouaq Shukar in Beirut, and you are also mentioning something else, which is Ismail Haniyeh in Iran. Can Israel confirm whether or not you were behind the assassination of Haniyeh? An image of him was published from the GPO with an eliminated sticker, but has now been removed. Thank you for that question, Celia. So yes, as I mentioned in this briefing, we did target Fouaq Shukar. He was the number 2 in the Hezbollah organization, a dastardly terrorist with much blood on his hand, not just Israeli blood, but his blood of Americans and other nationalities as well. We know that Hezbollah are a unit of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard. They're a proxy army. They're fighting us. They mean to destroy us. They say it very openly, and we must do our utmost to protect our people. That's what we did. On Ismail Haniyeh, we are not commenting on that particular incident. Second question you've got here is, how are you preparing for revenge from Hamas, Hezbollah and other Iranian proxies after these assassinations? So as I mentioned to you, we're not referring to anything in Iran, but look, we're on high alert now. We have been on high alert for approaching 10 months now since the Hamas army of terror, and on the 6 other Iranian proxy fronts which we are currently facing. We're on extremely high alert. Look, we have a duty in this country to defend our people. This is the only Jewish state in the world. It was created as a safe haven for Jewish people to get away from the anti-Semitism which has plagued our people since the dawn of time. You know, anti-Semitism, Jew hatred, it's the world's oldest hatred. The purpose of this country was as a safe homeland for the Jewish people, and to a large extent that it has fulfilled that function. But we've got Iran in our neighborhood, and they say extremely clearly that they wish to destroy our country. It is our duty. It is our solemn duty, a duty given to us by the people of this country to defend our borders and defend this country. We're the only democracy in hundreds of miles in any direction. We're facing this Islamic fundamentalist threat, but no one should be in any doubt that we're on the front line of this battle. But other countries, if they finish with us, we're just a stopgap on the way to Europe, on the way to the US, on the way to South America, on the way to India, on the way to other countries. They despise democracies. They are Islamic fundamentalist fascist cult. They believe in the theory of revolution, that their distorted view of Islam is that it should be above all other religions. They're just attacking us first because we happen to be local, but they're going after you as well. And we're on the front line of this battle, which is why we're fighting for humanity here in Israel. The last question from Celia from TV2 Norway is, in what way will this change the trajectory of ceasefire negotiations, presuming they continue at all? We are committed to these negotiations, Celia. We've made that absolutely clear. The Prime Minister has made that absolutely clear. We know that with Hamas, it's only through harsh military pressure that they released the first group of hostages, half of the hostages who we managed to get out. It's only through harsh military pressure that we've managed to get this far. It's one of our war aims to get our people out, and that's exactly what we'll do. We want this deal to succeed. Next question is from Fred Ager. It's a rather long question. You've got two rather long questions, Fred. Thank you very much. Okay, following the elimination of Ismail Haniyeh, Hamas official Sami Abu Zuhri stated that Hamas is an institution, not a person, and will continue its path to liberate Jerusalem, regardless of its sacrifices. Iranian President Pezeshkian pledged to defend its territorial integrity and make terrorist occupiers regret their actions. Hamas's Mahmoud Abbas, okay, that's not right, urged for unity, patience and firm resistance against the Israeli occupation. What is the Israel's Prime Minister Office response to these statements? Thank you for that question, Fred. So we're not commenting on that incident. So I've spoken about Hamas quite clearly as well in this briefing and our attitude towards Hamas. I've also spoken about Iran. Hamas are a proxy of Iran, as are Hezbollah, as are the Houthis, as are the Shia militias in Iraq, as are the attacks we've had from the Red Sea, as are any other of the 7 fronts. They're an Iranian proxy, 7 fronts we're fighting this war, and I've made comments about all of those fronts. Next question from Fred Ager is Hostage Families Forum issued a statement lauding the military accomplishments of the IDF in the killing of the top Hezbollah leaders in Beirut and after other activities over the last 2 nights, but says any true achievement can only be realized with the release of all 115 hostages in captivity. What's the Prime Minister's response to the Hostage Families Forum statement? Thank you for that question, Fred. Look, we've made our war aims completely clear. They are, of course, to get our 115 hostages back. It's obscene. It's crime against humanity every single moment for almost, tomorrow it'll be 300 days. It's unimaginable, the torture of these poor people. Our war aims are to bring them back, to destroy Hamas military and its governing capabilities, and of course to make sure that Gaza can never pose a threat to this country ever again. Next question from David Clement. Can you comment on the importance of the death of Ismail Haniyeh? Thank you for that question, David. We're not commenting on that incident. Thank you. Next question is from Jim Williams, Zenga International News Service, Washington, D.C. Good afternoon, David. In the last 12 hours, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense Austin, issued statements affirming the continued support for Israel to defend ourselves against the possibility of retaliatory attacks from Iran. Has the Prime Minister spoken to President Biden about a possible attack from Iran? Thank you for that question, Jim. Let me just say it this way. We are in regular contact with our allies. The US, it's our closest ally in the world. We share values, of course. We also share enemies. Iran is a mortal enemy of the US. Just yesterday, in the last few days, in the inauguration of the new Iranian president, they shouted death to Israel and death to America. So we're in very regular contact at every level of our government. Minister Gallant, if you see the comments from the IDF, and our defense minister himself has been in contact with Secretary of State Austin. That's been in the last day or so, in the last 24 hours. So we're in extremely regular contact with our American allies. Next question from here is from Avi Wolf from JFeed. Will the Prime Minister issue a statement regarding the strike in Beirut and the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh this morning? Thank you for that. We have spoken quite extensively already on this briefing. We've spoken extensively a briefing about the Hezbollah number 2, which we eliminated last night. Let me tell you, I visited the site of this gruesome attack on these children playing football, soccer. It is the most appalling thing that you could possibly imagine to see. The sight of these grieving families. They're not Jewish, they're Druze, okay, but they're proud Israeli citizens, and the mayor of the town made that absolutely clear. They are proud Israelis, they're Israeli citizens. They, the terrible thing which has happened to them just on Saturday, it's absolutely heartbreaking, but we stand together with our Druze allies. We are one and the same Israeli people, and there's been a steady stream of Israeli ministers and visitors who have gone right up to Majd al-Shams, where I visited yesterday with 50 other journalists. So we have spoken about that issue. We're not giving any comment on the other Hamas issue, which you talked about. Next question from Hannah Julian at the Jewish Press. Does the government expect Iran to respond to the assassinations of Shukr and Hania with another direct attack on Israel? Hannah, I think I answered this question just a little bit earlier in the briefing. We are on a high alert from the 7 fronts which we're facing Iran with. We're on extremely high alert. We know that this is a genocidal, murderous, fascist state which persecutes its own people. I think it's important always to make the point that we're not talking about the Iranian people who are victims of the Iranian regime. We're talking about this Iranian regime. I'll remind you that the Iranian president, in his opening days of his taking office, he said one fascinating thing. He said, Iran wants to have peace with every nation in the world except for Israel. You know, they've made very, very clear, Iran, that they wish to wipe us off the face of the map. Experience has taught the Jewish people that when someone says that they wish to destroy the Jewish people, we should take them seriously. And we do take them seriously. So we understand the threat from Iran. We're facing it down every day. We're facing their proxies every day. And this country will be defended. Okay, I think that's the last question. That's the last question, right? Okay, so in the meantime, thank you very much for joining us. We have these briefings every day, Monday to Thursday at the same time. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. In the meantime, we are available for interviews as well for your news outlets. And we thank you for joining us. Thank you. Bye-bye.